Okay, today I want to talk about an issue that's probably a lesser known issue or lesser recognized issue, and that's the issue of fortune telling that's going on today. And I would do this. I've done this as well, but it's not the right thing to do. That's evil, actually. It's a form of witchcraft. So I had to repent of that. And hopefully I can stay on the right path as I move forward as well. And I really hope that you all really take note of what I'm about to tell you here. So fortune telling, that's basically predicting the future or trying to predict the future. But there's different ways it happens today. So let me read the definition of bet here in this dictionary I have. Check this out. This is the first definition of the word bet. An agreement usually between two parties that the one who has made a wrong prediction about an uncertain outcome will forfeit something to the other. You see that? You hear what I just said? Didn't you hear that word prediction in there? Whoever makes the wrong prediction forfeits something to the other. We aren't supposed to be trying to predict the future. That's one thing that we ought to be careful about. The only way that we can have any understanding about what's going to happen in the future, as far as a prediction, is what predictions have already been made, as far as on the spiritual level of prophecy. So if we're talking about on the spiritual thing, yeah, you can look in what the words of Jesus Christ has spoken, and we can believe that prophecy to be true. Those prophecies which he spoke of, the testimony of Christ is the spirit of prophecy. People have the gift of prophecy. Some people claim to be prophets. They're all prophets in the Lord still. So prophecy is still good. Those things are still good and true. We can hold fast to those prophecies which exist in the Bible and in the scriptures. So for all my fellow Christians out there, understand that but understand like what fortune telling really is not the same as prophecy. All right. When you try to, for instance, when people bet, they bet on sports, right? They try to predict who will win. So they ask a certain person, hey, Mr. So and so, who do you predict will win the game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Bears? And they'll say, well, blah 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 blah, and they'll come up with all their facts or whatever, and say, because this, Dallas Cowboys got a good pass game because they got a good quarterback. The Bears don't really have a good quarterback. Based on that, I predict that the Cowboys will win. Well, they're not supposed to be making predictions like that. That's called fortune telling. They're trying to predict the future. Now, if they say based on this facts or these facts, or based on this reason, I believe, then now they're just talking about a belief. There are several reasonable beliefs that we have made even in our hearts at different points of our lives. For instance, usually when I go to a restaurant and I go to sit down in a booth or on a chair, I've already determined in my heart that it's reasonable to believe that this chair won't break, or it's reasonable to believe that this booth where I sit at, where I'm about to sit at, will not just collapse, will not collapse when I sit down in it. That's not being a fortune teller. That's just having a reasonable belief. So try try to discern, the difference between those two things, having a reasonable belief and trying to be a fortune teller, and when you try to tell the future, or tell of it in the word fortune, we should think about that. It don't have to be a monetary fortune. It could be fortune of reputation. You could be building a false reputation, and people like, oh well, we'll get you. And I've heard people use like the phrase, man, you're like a prophet. You predicted this, you predicted that, you predicted that. And it's like, no, he's not a prophet though. He's just saying based on these reasons, based on these reasons. If we keep doing that, then we have to expect the desired outcome. If you keep pouring Kool-Aid over the table, you can expect the table to keep getting wet by the Kool-Aid. If you leave the Kool-Aid on the table for X amount of minutes or hours, you can expect that the table will be sticky with the Kool-Aid that you poured on it, an hour or two ago. That's not being a prophet. That's just drawing a reasonable conclusion based on the facts that we have about what Kool-Aid does to tables. All right. So once again, for those out there, I hope this is helping you guys out as to understand what fortune telling is and how that can happen these days. Also, it's actually a subtly prideful thing as well. So, for instance, if I say to my father on the phone through a text message or just by speaking to him, saying, "Hey, Dad, I'll be there in Edwardsville in 30 minutes." Well, I don't know whether I'll be there in 30 minutes or not. That's fortune telling. That's trying to tell the future, trying to predict the future. And my fortune, right? Or trying to, being it's like I said, it's a form of witchcraft. So if I say I'll be there in 30 minutes, and let's say I show up 5 times in a row, then let's say someone's waiting on me the 6th time I come. So I'm right 5 times in a row. I end up happening to be there in Edwardsville in 30 minutes every time I say I'll be there in Edwardsville or wherever city I'm meeting them in, and on the 6th time I say, yeah, Dad, I'll be there in 30 minutes, or maybe it's 40 minutes the next time, right? So he tells the people, whoever he might be waiting on, hey, I'll be there, we should be there at this amount of time or whatever. Well, he goes based off the information I've told him. So he's not really, is he really going off the truth? Is he really going off something that's reasonable to say that this is the right prediction that I've made? He calculates his efforts based on something that is really witchcraft. Me trying to tell the future. I cannot tell the future unless that has been revealed to me. You know what I mean? Who's to say I won't get into a car accident or my tire get on flat? So if I say I'll be there at a certain time and people expect for me to be there at a certain time and I'm not there at a certain time, then that could cause people to be upset because now I've not told the truth. I've told a lie. If I say I will be there, that's saying that that's what it is. It will be this way. It's not this way or that way. It will be 30 minutes. So if I don't show up at 30 minutes or before 30 minutes or close to that time, then I'm like, whoa, it's been an hour. That could cause someone to be upset. You can cause people to be angry, you know what I mean? Because you've actually just offended them. you wouldn't have offended them if it wasn't a sin. So one way to say this, like, well, if I can get on the road by 1:30, I should be there, or hopefully I can be there, or if the traffic is this certain way, da 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 da, hopefully I can be there in a half hour if I get on the highway at 1:30 p.m. That's one way to put it without being trying to be a future, telling the future. Anyway, hope this helps for you all. God bless you all in your hearing, and hope you observe the reality of the truth. Goodbye.